Good evening, everyone. It is Tuesday, May 21st, just after 7:50 p.m., and welcome in this evening to a brief live update here regarding the severe weather situation across the state of Illinois for the remainder of this evening and into tonight. Now, as expected, this was always going to be a late afternoon, an evening, and a nighttime event across the state, and we have now finally, over the past 2 hours or so, we've now seen some of this activity start to push into northwestern, western, and southwestern Illinois. So on the screen right now is the wide view of the central United States radar here. You can see the swirl up here. That is our area of low pressure moving from Iowa up into Minnesota and soon up into Wisconsin. That's our low pressure taking that track up there. And then from that area of low pressure, we have this cold front that's sweeping very quickly off to the east as well. And as you can see, out along and ahead of that cold front, we have quite a bit of rain and thunderstorm action here. A lot of severe weather occurring all the way from Minnesota and Wisconsin down through eastern Iowa, now into parts of Illinois, and then also down into Missouri, Arkansas, Oklahoma, and Texas as well. So quite a severe weather event across the central United States today. Now, as we move in a little bit closer for you here, more locally, as I did mention, over the past 1 to 2 hours or so, we have finally seen some of this severe thunderstorm activity now move into western, even down in the southwestern Illinois, and also, more notably, up across northwestern Illinois. Over the past couple of days, we've been saying northwestern and western Illinois had the greatest chance of severe weather, and that's now where we've seen that severe weather first move into the state this evening, and some of those severe thunderstorms are quite significant. Affecting northwestern Illinois with some significant damaging winds moving across the Joe Daviess, Carroll County, and Stevenson County area right now. See some damage reports out of Bellevue, Iowa, that's just across the river from Joe Daviess County. And there is a report in Bellevue, Iowa, like I said, that's just across the Mississippi River from Joe Daviess County, of a 40-foot radio tower that was snapped at the base there in Bellevue, Iowa. Also a report out of Elizabeth from a trained spotter of 80-mile-per-hour winds. That was just about 10 minutes ago. And a little earlier, there was a report of a 77-mile-per-hour wind gust at the Dubuque Airport. So northwestern Illinois is getting it pretty good right now in terms of severe weather. Also a report out of Freeport from a trained spotter of some pea-sized hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds as well. All these red polygons that you see here, these are all severe thunderstorm warnings in the red polygons here. So we do have severe thunderstorm warnings for a good portion of northwestern Illinois here as we approach 8 p.m. And most of these storms are capable and have a history of producing damaging winds, also some small hail as well. There's even a tornado warning out here just to the northwest of Davenport. I know that's technically in Iowa, but if you live just to the northwest of the Quad Cities out there in eastern Iowa, there is a tornado warning just to the northwest. The Quad Cities area is pretty much right here. So just to the northwest of the Quad Cities, there is a tornado warning out there near the Bennett, Iowa area, and that's going to be tracking through eastern Iowa. So once again, northwestern Illinois getting it pretty good in terms of some severe weather right now with damaging winds and some small hail as well. And as we take the wide view here, you can see this activity here kind of shaped right in here, and this is going to continue to track off toward the northeast here. So if you are in places like the Joe Daviess, Stevenson, Winnebago, Carroll, Lee, Ogle and Lee counties, even down here into Bureau County as well, Henry County, even Whiteside County. These are the counties under the risk for the severe weather at this time, probably over the next 1 to 2 hours or so, for some severe thunderstorms moving through, like I said, capable of damaging winds and capable of producing some hail as well. Now, as we move a little bit further south here, things are not as interesting across central Illinois at this point in time. There are a couple of weakening severe thunderstorms in northwestern Missouri. There's also some activity coming through the St. Louis area right now. But quite honestly, central Illinois isn't looking overall too bad right now. Now, you're not out of the clear, but we do expect some of this activity in Missouri to eventually work up through central Illinois. This activity down around St. Louis is also going to continue to track off towards the east-northeast as well. So, central Illinois, there's not much going on right now, but we are going to remain in effect for an isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorm potential for you folks. As we move further to the south, for you folks in southern Illinois, St. Louis area, we have a line of showers and thunderstorms coming through. Most of that activity is not reaching severe limits at this point in time, but there is some activity down here across Missouri, Jefferson City, Missouri, down to almost Springfield area. This is all going to work off to the east into southern Illinois as we head into tonight as well. So severe weather threat for southern Illinois will start to increase just a little bit as we head into tonight. But once again, as we've been mentioning the past couple of days, the greatest severe weather threat today was going to be across the northwestern portion of the state, and that is where we are seeing a majority of the severe weather this evening, and that'll continue to move off towards the northeast over the next couple of hours. So as we switch over here, let's flip over here to one of the weather forecast models just to give you an idea of how things are going to pan out over the next couple of hours. So this is pretty much current time. This is pretty much right now. As you can see, that activity across northwestern Illinois, eastern Iowa is going to continue to track off towards the northeast. This activity across northwestern Missouri down to St. Louis and Missouri as well is going to eventually track off to the northeast as well. But everything is going to weaken as we head over the next several hours. So you're going to see what I'm talking about here in just a moment. So as we go through 8 o'clock, 9 o'clock, as you can see, we get to 9 o'clock here. This activity in northwestern Illinois continues to move off towards the northeast. You can see kind of a gap here in central Illinois. It's possible, like I said, the threat in central Illinois might not be all that high for the remainder of tonight, but we're going to still hold at least an isolated threat. And then you can see this activity in Missouri through St. Louis continues to track off towards the east as well. As we head 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, 12 o'clock, you can see how things really weaken as they move into northeastern, eastern, and southern Illinois here. So the gist of it is, as has been the case with our severe weather outlook, I actually want to go to that really quickly here. This was our severe weather outlook going into today. So the greatest threats for severe weather today was always out across this area, so it's not surprising that the majority of the severe weather we're seeing right now this evening is out across northwestern Illinois. That was always going to be the target zone. I know the Storm Prediction Center, I know they had a level 3 severe thunderstorm risk all across northern and central Illinois, but it was overplayed this whole time. The threat was never going to be that high off to the east here, because the threat was going to be weakening as activity moves off towards the east, and we're still expecting that. So as you can see here, once again, the biggest threat for today was always out here across northwestern Illinois, where you folks are getting some pretty significant severe weather for some of those areas at this point in time. And then as you can see on this forecast graphic, as you head to the east, the threat was going to wane as you continue to head further to the east here across northeastern, eastern, and southern Illinois. So how we're seeing things play out this evening and now into tonight is not surprising at all. It is exactly what we expected here at ISC. Like I said, I know the Storm Prediction Center had this big level 3 risk, that big enhanced risk area all across a good chunk of the state, but honestly, it was overplayed this whole time. That is why we have been going a little bit lower on the severe weather risk than the Storm Prediction Center. It has always looked like activity was going to weaken as it headed further east across the state of Illinois, and our thinking has been unchanged this whole entire time. So as we flip back over here to the current radar, I'm going to put this on the screen here, and then I'm going to get to some of your comments and questions here. I'm going to zoom in on northwestern Illinois because that is where a majority of the severe weather is at this point in time. So let's get to some of the comments and questions. I'm not going to get to everybody's because there is a ton of comments and questions coming in at this time, but I do want to get to at least some of them for you folks here. All right, here. See a lot of folks tuning in from the Chicago area. I'm not going to name all of you in particular, but for everyone tuning in from the Chicago area, we still do expect maybe a couple of showers and thunderstorms to move into the Chicago area early tonight, but they will be in a weakening phase. We've been talking about this for the past day or so now. Things as they move east will be in a weakening phase. So as this activity tries to move into northeastern Illinois and the Chicago area and eastern Illinois, places like Kankakee, down through Ford, Iroquois counties, places like that, things are going to be in a weakening phase. So this activity up here is going to track off towards the northeast and also to the east as well. But like I said, once activity starts to get out here in this corridor, it's going to be in a weakening phase. I should be out across those areas. So it's not that your severe weather threat is zero out across these areas, but across that area, your severe weather threat is definitely going to be more isolated because this activity is going to be becoming more spotty in nature and weaker as it heads off towards the east. All right, here, let's try to play catch up on some of these comments and questions here. And there are a lot of them. They're coming quick here. Trying to get to some of the more significant questions here. Matt checking in on YouTube, mentioning we had people in a high risk. No, a high risk is a level 5 risk. We did not have anybody in a high risk for today. Jacob checking in from McHenry, mentioning it's a bust. Not really. Honestly, the forecast is on track for essentially what we thought would happen for the most part here. Katie wondering around how long the threat will last in the Galesburg area. The Galesburg area, anyone out there across western Illinois, you're probably going to have a threat here over the next 1 to 3 hours, and then your threat is going to come to an end. So if you're in Galesburg, Macomb, Quincy, Pittsfield, Rushville, you probably have another threat for the next 1 to 3 hours, and then your threat is going to come to an end out there across western Illinois. Once again, if you're in the Chicago area, I know that a majority of our followers are from the Chicago region because obviously it is the biggest population center in the state of Illinois. So once again, for all of you folks tuning in from the Chicago area, whether you're the northern, the western, the southern suburbs, or if you're in the city, we are expecting some of this activity in the form of isolated showers and thunderstorms to move in early tonight, and some of those storms may hold maybe an isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorm potential for the Chicago area. But like I said, the most significant risk for today was always going to be across the northwestern portion of the state, and that is where we are seeing a majority of the severe weather at this point in time. But once again, at this point in time, we do have several severe thunderstorms traversing portions of northwestern Illinois. We're now at about 8:05, 8:06 p.m. here. We do have several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect all the way across northwestern Illinois here. These storms do have a history of producing damaging winds, some significant damaging winds, and some small hail as well. I mentioned a couple of minutes ago there was recently a report about 20 minutes ago out of Elizabeth, that's up there in Joe Daviess County, of an estimated 80-mile-per-hour winds. Also a report, this was about a half an hour ago, out of Freeport of some pea-size hail and 60-mile-per-hour winds. And we continue to see these severe thunderstorms with several severe thunderstorm warnings in effect here across portions of northwestern Illinois, and this activity does continue to push off towards the northeast here. Also see a new report from NORA that's up there in Joe Daviess County as well. Estimated winds of 70 to 80 miles per hour up there. So some fairly significant damaging winds coming through the Joe Daviess County area at this time. Also into Stevenson County. The storm coming through the Sterling and Dixon area in Whiteside and Lee County will eventually move up into Ogle County with some damaging wind and small hail potential as well. So that's the main story here as we go through the next 1-2 hours or so, is these severe thunderstorms in northwestern Illinois continuing to move off towards the northeast. So if you're in the Freeport, Rockford, Rochelle, Oregon areas, definitely keep a watch out for these storms. They are capable and have a history of producing damaging winds, and they do continue to track off towards the northeast. Also, once again, let's head a little bit back to the south here. Down into southwestern Illinois, severe thunderstorm warning in the Jacksonville area right now for a storm capable of producing some damaging winds. That's as of it's 8:08 p.m. right now. We have some storms moving through the St. Louis area right now, but they are not severe at this point in time. Also have some severe storms in Missouri here that may eventually work into southern Illinois over the next several hours as well. But all in all, like I said, the worst of the severe weather at this point in time, and as was expected to be the case for today, is up here across portions of northwestern Illinois. Let's try to check in the chat once more here just to get to a couple more quick comments and questions here. Like I said, if you're asking about your particular backyard, I might not get to your question because there are hundreds of those questions coming in right now. It's just impossible to answer everybody's question as to what to expect for your particular backyard. It's just completely impossible. So I am going to try to touch on some of the more significant questions that we do have coming through here. And I'm just trying to scroll through here. And another thing I wanted to point out is some of you folks in northern and central Illinois today had to deal with some blowing dust and dirt. The farmers have been out there the past couple of weeks, and some of them are still out there. They're overturning the fields they've been planting. Yes, some of them have already planted, but some of them are still out there planting. And with those overturned fields with loose dirt, the conditions have been warm and dry today with the gusty winds of 30 to 45 miles per hour. That has helped to blow around some of that dirt and that dust across portions of northern and central Illinois. We actually had a dust storm warning in parts of central Illinois late this afternoon and this evening. Also saw some road closures this afternoon and evening on I-55 and I-74 coming south of the Bloomington area this afternoon because some of those dust storms were so significant. So it's been quite an interesting weather day today. We saw temperatures up around 90 degrees today across portions of the state. So it's been warm, a little bit dry today. It's been windy, and now we're seeing some of this severe weather move in across portions of the state of Illinois as well. See Jenny checking in here regarding a cruise downtown along the lakefront. I take it you mean the lakefront of Chicago. Could have an isolated shower or thunderstorm early tonight, maybe a severe weather threat with it. Have to keep an eye on that. Nicole wondering if I could put the radar in motion. While I ramble and get to some of the questions here, I could definitely do that for you. It's going to be moving a little bit quick here, but this gives you an idea of where those storms are moving across northwestern Illinois. Jennifer checking in from the St. Louis area. Let's head back down to the St. Louis area for you because that is pretty much the second biggest population center right there on the Illinois border. And I'll put the radar in motion here, and you can see we do have an area of showers and thunderstorms here that is working through the St. Louis area. Now, this activity is not severe in the St. Louis area right now, but it is producing some non-severe gusty winds and some non-severe hail, which is small hail moving through the St. Louis area right now. But there is some more activity out here just to the southeast of Jefferson City, Missouri, that might try to move up into the St. Louis area. So your severe weather threat's not done. You could still have a severe weather potential as we go through the next couple of hours for you folks down there tuning in from the St. Louis metro area. See, Jenny checking in, mentioning tree fell in the backyard and some power briefly out in the Wonder Lake area. So yeah, the winds that we've been seeing during the day today across the state are gradient winds. So the storm system that's associated with the severe weather, that area of low pressure that's moving up through Iowa, Minnesota, and Wisconsin, it has been quickly deepening and quickly strengthening today. And that is helping to increase the low-level surface wind flow here across the state of Illinois. So that's why we've been dealing with these gusty winds this afternoon and evening on the order of 30 up to 45 miles per hour in some cases, which is one of the reasons why we've been dealing with the blowing dirt and blowing dust across portions of the state. But those gusty winds today have also produced a little bit of tree damage in some areas. Now, obviously, those winds have not been associated with any kind of thunderstorm activity, but that's what happens sometimes when you get these strengthening storm systems coming through. They could really increase the wind flow, especially at the lower levels here, and mix down those stronger winds, and sometimes they get to the surface here, and that's why we've been seeing these 30 to 45 mile per hour wind gusts in some areas. I see George checking in here from Springfield, mentioning it was a dust bowl down there today. See Pam checking in from near the Amboy area, wondering if you should be taking shelter out there because you're in a trailer. You do have a severe thunderstorm that's going to come pretty darn close to you out there in the Amboy area where you are. So definitely could see some gusty winds with that. Now, the majority of the storm should be just to your west, but still, for you out there in that Amboy area, could get some gusty outflow winds with that particular severe thunderstorm traveling just to your west. All right, here, let's continue to scroll through the video chat here. Shantae checking in from Mendota, mentioning you have a building full of people there. Right now in Mendota area, you have nothing heading your way right now out in Mendota. Unless, I got to tell you, unless things start to fill in here, there's really nothing out to your southwest. Mendota is right here at that X, and you can see off to your southwest here, there's really nothing too much going on right now. So I'd say for your area, maybe just an isolated shower or thunderstorm, isolated severe weather threat as it looks at this point in time. A majority of the severe weather, like I said, was always expected to be across northwestern Illinois today, and that's where we have seen most of it so far this evening. Right, let's try to... I see a ton of people. I know, obviously, we cover the whole state of Illinois, but I know Chicago, the Chicagoland area, you're our biggest population center. You know, we have our biggest follower count from the Chicago area, so that's where a majority of our questions come from. So once again, if you're in the Chicago area, later this evening and early tonight, you may get a couple of showers and thunderstorms, maybe a severe weather threat with some of that activity, but it's not looking too bad in the Chicago area. It never was going to be overly significant in the Chicago area. Like I said, as we switch back over to our forecast, this was our forecast we issued this morning. So this was issued this morning. So as you can see, we were always expecting the biggest threat to be out here across northwestern Illinois. That is always where the biggest threat appeared to be today. And then, once again, as you shifted off towards the east here, the threat was always going to weaken as things moved off towards the east. So by the time you get to the Chicago area here, You know, depending on where you are here in northeastern Illinois, northwestern Indiana, it's only a level 1 to level 2 severe weather risk, which means maybe an isolated to widely scattered severe thunderstorm across the Chicago metro area. It was never going to be significant in the Chicago metro area. Yes, once again, I know the Storm Prediction Center had an enhanced risk for the Chicago metro area, but we did not. So everything is pretty much going as expected for us. All right, here, let's check the video chat to see if there's any more significant comments or questions to get to. Like I said, I know a lot of you are tuning in, asking questions about your particular town, but it's just impossible to get to all of those comments and questions regarding specific towns and specific home regions. So usually when I answer the comments on the page, usually it's to get to more of those broader questions or larger scale questions. And on that note, let's get back to what is going on right now. So we are now approaching 8:20 p.m., and we do still have a couple of severe thunderstorms roaming in here across northwestern Illinois. Like I said, we do still have a couple of severe thunderstorms here roaming in across northwestern Illinois here. Got another report of some damage here out in Hanover, out in Joe Daviess County, of trees and power lines down in Hanover and Joe Daviess County. Also a report just over the border in Bellevue, Iowa. That's right there along the Mississippi, right along the border of Joe Daviess County. I mentioned this earlier. A 40-foot radio tower was snapped at the base in Bellevue, Iowa. Also a report a little earlier out of Elizabeth of 80-mile-an-hour winds. Also out of Nora, that's in northeastern Joe Daviess County, of estimated 70 to 80-mile-an-hour winds. Also, nearly about 45 minutes ago, a report of 60-mile-per-hour winds out of the Freeport area. So this is the area that's been getting it here over the last 1, 2, 3 hours now. This activity does continue to move off towards the northeast. I could put the radar in movement here, and you could see it. This activity is heading all off towards the northeast here, and it has been affecting many of the same areas here. You can see how many different severe thunderstorms have tracked over the same areas over and over again here over the past few hours across northwestern Illinois, and most of these storms have had a history of producing damaging winds, also some small hail as well. And then once more, let's head back down for you folks in central Illinois, because there's not too much going on right now in central Illinois. And all in all, I got to be honest with you, central Illinois is not looking all that bad. I'm going to go ahead and guess that maybe a chance of an isolated shower or thunderstorm for the remainder of the evening and tonight across central Illinois. Maybe an isolated severe weather threat down here across the southwestern Illinois area here. You have some storms moving through as well. So what I'm going to do here really quickly, and I'm going to try to do this very, very quickly while I am live here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to zoom back in on northwestern Illinois, because that is where a majority of the severe weather is at this point in time. And while I have the radar up here, I'm going to make a quick update to the map here for the remainder of the night here. So just stick with me here for one moment here while we have the radar up. But once again, we do have severe weather occurring across portions of the state of Illinois here tonight. And we are going to continue to run the risk of some severe weather the remainder of tonight here as we go through the next couple of hours. And what I'm doing right now is I'm actually going to create you an updated forecast graphic here while I have the radar on the screen. So if I'm not getting to your particular comment or question right at this moment, because I am off the screen updating our forecast, because I do want to get you a new forecast graphic here as we approach 8:30 p.m. So just bear with me here as I quickly try to create this new forecast graphic here. But once again, as has been expected, the severe weather activity and the severe weather threat across the state was always supposed to ramp up as we headed into late this afternoon, this evening, and into tonight. And we have indeed seen that occur now across portions of the state of Illinois, with severe weather activity now having moved into northwestern Illinois over the past couple of hours. We've also been seeing some severe weather activity push into portions of southern Illinois over the past couple of hours as well. And we're going to continue to run a severe weather risk as we go through the next couple of hours here across the state of Illinois. But the threat is going to continue to wane as we go through the next several hours. And I'm actually going to show you that here on our updated severe weather graphic that I'm putting together right this moment. So like I said, just bear with me here. And I am creating the graphic here just off the screen behind here. Just take a couple of minutes here. But once again, severe weather at this time over the past couple of hours has been bringing damaging winds and also some small hail to portions of northwestern Illinois the past couple of hours. It looks like we've seen some potentially significant wind damage out across portions of northwestern Illinois. There was a report earlier of 77 mile per hour wind gust out at the Dubuque airport. That was a little bit earlier. And more recently, we've been seeing reports of damaging winds upwards of 70 to 80 miles per hour. Some reports of that from some trained spotters out there across northwestern Illinois in the vicinity of the Joe Daviess County area. There was a report from just over the border in Bellevue, Iowa, that's just over the border from the Joe Daviess County area, and that was a report of a 40-foot radio tower that was snapped off at the base by those damaging winds that occurred there. So there has been, some fairly significant wind damage that appears to have occurred out there across portions of northwestern Illinois, once again, over the past couple of hours. And we do continue to run the risk for, like I said, this severe weather continuing across portions of the state in, different levels here over the next couple of hours, and we're going to continue to monitor the situation. As I mentioned just a couple of minutes ago, right now behind the scenes, I am updating our severe weather forecast graphic for the remainder of tonight, and I'll have that on the screen for you in just a couple of minutes here, so bear with me with that. But while I am creating that, also talking to you at the same time here, once again, we are now at almost 8:25 p.m. We do continue to have some severe weather that I mentioned is affecting portions of the state of Illinois here. Northwestern Illinois, still some severe thunderstorm warnings in effect at this point in time out here. Let's pause this radar just to give you a little bit of a better idea of what's going on here. A couple of severe thunderstorms ongoing out here across northwestern Illinois at this point in time. And all of this activity is moving very, very rapidly. Very, very rapidly off towards the northeast. So this activity is going to be actually moving up towards the Rockford area here very shortly. This activity also moving up into Wisconsin, where they're dealing with some of that activity as well. So been fairly active, continues to be active overall as we continue to see this activity quickly sweep off to the north. And just to give you an idea of what's going on up in Wisconsin, I know we don't technically cover Wisconsin, but I do know that we often have folks tuning in from Wisconsin. And you can see all these pink and red boxes. Those are numerous severe thunderstorm and tornado warnings in effect up there across Wisconsin. So if you're up across southern Wisconsin, some fairly significant severe weather ongoing out across those areas as well. So once again, like I said, behind the scenes right now, I'm quickly, as quickly as I can at least, trying to put together a new forecast graphic for you just to give you an idea of what to expect for the remainder of tonight. So just give me one moment while we continue to develop this. And we're almost done here with this new graphic. Let me just check back in the comments really quickly here. I know we still have many of you tuned in here. Once again, do notice many of you tuning in from the Chicago area. Like I said, I know we cover the entire state of Illinois, but Chicago, the metro area, it is our biggest population center in the state of Illinois. So, we do get most of our followers and comments and questions from the Chicago area. And at this point in time, like I said, the activity as it moves into the Chicago area will be in a weakening phase. I only expect to see a couple of showers and thunderstorms, maybe an isolated severe weather threat across the Chicago area for the remainder of tonight. All right, so I'm about to get the updated forecast graphic here on the screen. Now, this is what to expect going forward. So let me just pull this up here. Just give me one moment. I'm doing this in live here, which is normally not done. So bear with me here. All right, so on the screen is a very quick thrown together forecast for the remainder of tonight. So as you can see here, for the remainder of tonight, the biggest threat is out here across northwestern Illinois, where you are currently getting the severe weather, and then also down here across portions of southwestern Illinois as well. That is going to be where the greatest threat for the remainder of the night appears to be. So you can see much of the state is shaded in the blue color. Once again, as you can see here, much of the state is shaded in the blue color for the remainder of the night. And what that essentially means, if you're in the blue, which is the level 1 risk area, that essentially means we could still be dealing with an isolated severe weather threat for the remainder of tonight. So once again, if you're in that blue color, isolated severe weather threat for the remainder of tonight, once again, for you folks in that blue shaded color as it looks at this point in time, that is generally our isolated severe thunderstorm risk. Now, if you're in those areas of southern Illinois and also far northern Illinois there, where we are seeing those green shaded colors, that is where we're going to be dealing with a slightly higher coverage of severe weather potential for the rest of tonight. So like I said, we're already seeing activity ongoing up across here. So widely scattered severe weather threat continuing across these areas for the remainder of tonight. And then once again, if you're in the blue shaded areas for the remainder of tonight, it's generally going to be an isolated severe weather risk across the blue shaded areas for the remainder of tonight. All right, here, let's jump back into the video chat here. See if we get to a couple comments and questions. See Danny checking in from out in Byron, mentioning the storm is hitting your area right now. Yes, you have a severe thunderstorm working through your area right at this moment in time here. Let's go back over to the radar here. This storm in particular right here is moving through Ogle County right now, including the Byron area. Probably getting some gusty winds, maybe even some small hail with that at this point in time. Also up here moving into Stevenson County. Storm capable of producing some hail and some gusty winds as well. And then also these storms coming out of Iowa are going to come up through Joe Daviess County, capable of producing some gusty winds and hail as well. So severe thunderstorms continue now as we have just surpassed 8:30 p.m. Severe thunderstorms continue here across portions of northwestern Illinois, across Joe Daviess, Stevenson, Winnebago, and Ogle counties now that we have just crossed 8:30 p.m. Also, let's head back down here into southwestern and central Illinois. We do continue to have some showers and thunderstorms move through the Springfield area, down through Jerseyville and the St. Louis metro area, and this activity continues to move off towards the east as well. It is not severe at this point in time, but don't rule out an isolated severe weather threat continuing with some of this activity. At this point in time, it is capable of producing some gusty winds and some small hail along with it as well. So with that said, let's flip back over here to one of our weather forecast models just to give you once again a visual of what we are going to be expecting here for the remainder of tonight. So let's pull this back up here on the screen and let's get into it right now. So once again, this is pretty much current time right now. So as I mentioned, we have this severe weather activity moving across northwestern Illinois. We have some rain and thunderstorms from St. Louis up to the Springfield area back into Missouri. This activity is moving off towards the east, so that's right now. As we move towards 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock, you can see how this activity moves northeast and east. You can see how it really weakens here. And this was always expected to occur. This is why, if you joined us earlier this afternoon during our update, or even over the past couple of days, you might have noticed our severe weather risk levels have been lower across northeastern, eastern, and southern Illinois, and our severe weather risk on our forecast was higher out across northwestern Illinois. And that is because the greatest threat was always across northwestern Illinois for today. And as you can see, as this activity moves off towards the east over the next several hours, as has been expected, it is going to weaken. And even with that shower and thunderstorm activity weakening, the overall severe weather threat is going to lessen as this activity moves off towards the east. So once again, flipping back over to our updated severe weather forecast. I just made this live just a couple of minutes ago. So once again, this is our updated forecast for the next several hours, pretty much from now through about 1 o'clock in the morning, and then the severe weather threat will come to an end. So this is pretty much from now through about midnight to 1 a.m. And as you can see here, once again, dealing with the severe weather threat continuing across the state. However, you will notice the blue area, much of northeastern, central, eastern, down into southeastern Illinois, that's a level 1 severe thunderstorm risk for the remainder of tonight. For an isolated severe weather risk in the blue shaded color. If you're in the green area, northwestern Illinois here, you have a level 2 severe thunderstorm risk just for the next couple of hours. Down here across parts of southern Illinois, we also have you in a level 2 severe thunderstorm risk for the next couple of hours as well. So all in all, things are pretty much going as we expected here. The greatest severe weather risk was going to be out across northwestern Illinois, and so far, that is where we have seen a majority of the severe weather. The risk was always going to be lower as you moved south and to the east, and that is what we are seeing play out here. Like I said, I know that the National Weather Service and the Storm Prediction Center had places like the Chicago area in a level 3, which is an enhanced risk for severe weather. We didn't think the threat was that high across those areas, which is why we only had Chicago in a level 2 risk, and now we are going down to a level 1 risk. It's looking more, instead of widely scattered, just a little bit lower than that, more of an isolated severe weather risk for the rest of tonight. So once again, let's just do a brief recap here of what we have currently going on and what we expect to go on here over the next several hours. So once again, over the past few hours, we have seen several severe thunderstorms move across northwestern Illinois. They have produced damaging winds and some small hail. This activity across northwestern Illinois will continue for a little while longer before it moves up into Wisconsin. Also, down across southern Illinois, we do have some rain and thunderstorm activity moving through the St. Louis region, even up towards Springfield at the top of the screen here. None of this activity is severe at this moment in time, but there is the capability of some isolated severe thunderstorms continuing to be possible with some of this activity as it moves through St. Louis and into southern Illinois. And once again, bringing our map back up here, this is our updated severe weather forecast for the rest of tonight. We are going to maintain the threat for maybe an isolated severe weather risk across northeastern, eastern, southern, and central and western Illinois for tonight. But once again, if you're in the blue shaded areas, it is an isolated severe weather risk for the remainder of tonight, and it looks to be very isolated at that. Northern Illinois here in the green shaded area, level 2 risk. This is pretty much for the next few hours before that threat will come to an end. down here across southern Illinois. This risk is for the next several hours as well. And like I said, the activity that's moving through is going to weaken as it moves off towards the east. So as we go deeper into tonight, the severe weather risk is going to gradually diminish and lower as we go through the next several hours for tonight. So once again, that'll pretty much do it for now. We'll go ahead and wrap things up for now. Things are starting to quiet down across northwestern Illinois. There's still a couple of warnings in effect, including for the Rockford area. There's a severe thunderstorm warning as we approach 8:40 p.m. But the gist of it is, we have had severe weather across northwestern Illinois this evening, even around the St. Louis area, a couple of strong storms. We're going to continue to see isolated to scattered showers and thunderstorms move across the state tonight. Maybe an isolated severe thunderstorm threat, widely scattered severe thunderstorm threat continuing for some areas. We will be back on in a couple of hours for our normal nightly forecast update regarding the severe weather potential continuing for tonight, and also another severe weather threat across far southern Illinois for your Wednesday. So be on the lookout for our full forecast update out here a little bit later tonight. But for now, thank you all for tuning into this live coverage severe weather update this evening. Like I said, continuing some severe weather threat across the state for tonight. The biggest threat up there across northwestern Illinois, where we have been seeing severe weather already this evening.